All right, each week I'm going to try to take a little bit of time to go through various questions that I see in the community and provide some of my insight. This week, Lisa asked a question. She said, okay, I can't seem to use the Pomodoro method. Can anyone recommend something else for me to focus, please? It might be partly that I'm on a resume career pathway bit and it's so boring. Okay, so here's my insight there. All right, I personally don't use the Pomodoro in the way that Pomodoro is meant to be used, but what I do use is timers. And I want to talk about a couple of things that might make your focus a little bit easier. So let's do a quick exercise. All right, so the first thing that you want to create for yourself is intention. And what I mean by that is we want to identify what are the dreams, goals, plans, and actions related to what it is that you're trying to do. And then we want to externalize that because we can't depend on our working memory to keep track of these for us. And it's important that we outline each of these individually. So right now you're working on a resume or building a resume. And so that's really a goal, right? And a goal isn't particularly interesting. It's really the dream that you attach it to. So the first thing that you want to do is think about why. Why are you doing this? What is the larger dream that you're trying to achieve for yourself? Because that has some emotion, and ultimately we want to attach that to your actions. The next thing that you want to do is, if your goal is to finish a resume, you might break that down into sub-goals, but what you're really doing in that case is you're creating a plan, and a plan has a couple of pieces that it needs. The first is, when are you going to work on it? And what other resources do you need to invest into solving that particular goal? And if it's not immediately clear, you might want to break that goal down into smaller goals. For example, if I'm starting from scratch, I lost my resume, the first thing I need to do is go through all of my history and figure out, well, where have I worked? And so creating a list of past employers is a great intermediary goal that one might need to achieve. So come up with your plan. And the most important part here is to externalize it, write it down. If you don't write it down, you're going to forget it. It's going to be really hard to stay motivated by it. It is our working memory that we can't rely on. And so externalizing this is so important. And then finally, as it pertains to actions, you want to think, what are the specific actions that I need to take to follow my plan? So if it pertains to my goal is to finish my resume and my sub goal is to get a list of all of my past employers, maybe the first thing that I'm going to do is to create, based off of my memory, a list of the places that I remember working that I'm going to have to do some more research on to figure out what was the name of the place or when did I work there and what was it that I did. But I want to start just by creating that list. So getting clarity around what your intentions are key. The next step is how do you use your time? And so as it pertains to the Pomodoro method, you're using timers, right? And a timer is important because we have time blindness. That's something that those that have ADHD have, is it's very hard for us to keep track of time. The idea behind the Pomodoro method is you take a period of time, you set a timer, and you work for all of that. And then you stop and you take a break, and then when the break timer is over, you start that all over again and you work for that period of time. But where I think that falls short is not having clear intentions for what you're going to do at the time. So I will pick a time, and the duration of time that I pick is going to depend on the nature of the work that I'm doing. and how much attention I feel like I have. It might be anywhere from 20 minutes if I'm feeling challenged at that time to an hour and a half or even 3 hours if I'm already feeling relatively focused. But it's going to depend on the nature of what I have to do. Then I set a specific goal for myself. So let's say that I need to write a list of all of my employers. And then the next step is I want to look up details related to the months that I was employed there and what it was that I did. So I've got some clarity on my immediate goal, or rather my immediate action and those actions that are going to follow that. So I set a timer, and I'll use any different type of timer. One of the timers that I use frequently is right here. This is called a time timer, and I like this because it's super simple and visual. You're going to hear it beeping. Let's see. So you just grab this, and it counts down from an hour. So you can't set it for any more than an hour. And it's very visual. You can hear that very obnoxious beep that it makes as the time runs out. I usually turn that off, and instead I just stick it right in front of me where I can see it and I'm reminded. So I might set a goal that I want to have a written list of all of my employers written down, and I should be able to do that in 20 minutes. So maybe I set the timer for 20 minutes. And remember to write down the action that you're doing. So that can come in a handful of different ways. One of them is sometimes I'll get sticky notes or stickies, and I'll just write it on a sticky and literally physically put it on the monitor in front of me. Otherwise, I've got various project tracking software that I might be working in, depending on the nature of the project that I'm doing. If I'm working on a software project, sometimes I'm working with a team, and so I'm going to use the same tools that they're using, but I'm going to find a way to use it also for my personal tracking. Sometimes I just open up a notepad, or sometimes I write it down on a piece of paper in front of me. But the key is I need to externalize it and get it out of my working memory. I can't depend on my working memory. And then I create a timer. There's other kind of timers too. Sometimes, and you may have seen this on my shelf, I play around with just using the good old-fashioned hourglasses. I think there's something neat about watching it. Obviously, they won't tick. Also, there are digital timers that you can get. I use this one when, let's say, I'm going to set the laundry, or there's something else that I need to remember to follow up on and to do. So those are all options for you. But get some kind of a timer and set a goal for yourself, and then test yourself when that goal comes up. So I set a 20-minute timer, and then after I ask myself, was I able to achieve that? And what are the actions that follow? Having that clarity on exactly what it is that you're doing, it sounds so obvious, and but it's really it's so obvious that it's easy to skip it. It's easy to skip the process of really identifying what is it that I'm doing and when should I be able to be done with it. Now, maybe that's not clear. So let's say I'm working on a project. I have no idea how long it's going to take. First, there's somewhat of a red flag there. I want to ask myself, well, can I break it down into actions where the individual actions are timed? That I have a better idea. Can I break this large task down into smaller tasks so that the shape of it in my brain is smaller and I can focus on that smaller task? This is particularly important when you work on software projects where what we do ultimately can be looked at from the outside as very complex, when in fact, it's really just a bunch of very simple problems that we're solving one after the other. So if it seems like there's not clarity on exactly how long something's going to take, that is what we like to call a smell, that there's a good chance that we can improve on that clarity by breaking it down into smaller tasks. And then how long should it take me? Set the timer, and then when that timer goes off, one of three things have happened. One is that I'm done, I did it, and I'm on to my next thing. So I'm going to reset some goals. And hopefully I aim for what could I do 40 minutes out or an hour out. And I kind of gamify the objective of these are the things I want to get done in this 60 minutes. And it might take me 5 minutes just to get clarity on what those are going to look like. Again, depending on the nature of what I'm working on. And then when that timer goes off, maybe I got them done, or maybe I'm reading some separate book or some Wikipedia article or something that my brain just wandered off to, and I identify, all right, here I am. This does not align with the intentions that I had for myself. I'm not working towards this goal anymore. I'm working on another thing. And then I have to ask myself, is that okay? Is that okay right now? Sometimes I give myself some space to hop from one thing to another, as long as that other thing is also on my list of things to do. But usually I will try to force myself to get back to at least a stopping point that I had intended on that first task. I might change my intentions. I might say, all right, well, it turns out that writing, I'm having this creative block on writing what it was that I did for these companies. I know that I can come up with something better than developed software. And I'm just not coming up with that creative idea. So maybe I put a pin in this particular task and I start going into, well, what are the other things related to building my resume that I want to work on, and jump to another goal. But the key is always have intention and always externalize your intention, write them down, and connect your actions with your dreams. Your goal is not exciting. Finishing a resume is not exciting. But what happens when you achieve that? What do you want to do with your life? What are the dreams you want to fulfill? Money, getting a lot of money, that is also not a dream. That's a goal. Money facilitates a variety of things in life. What are the things you actually want? If you had the opportunity to get any job you wanted tomorrow and money were not an object, what would you want to be doing and why? And really tap into what motivates you, and then see the connection between the action that you're going to do, come up with a list of places that I've worked, and start to expand on what did I do when I worked there, and how much time are you going to give yourself to do it. So that's what I do with the timer. I need those checks because I will space out and maybe 5 minutes went by or maybe 2 hours went by and I just have no concept of time. On the other hand, if the timer is going to go off every 20 minutes or every hour and a half, that gives me a checkpoint where I can say, what I've done in this last hour and a half, does it align with what I wanted to have done? And if not, do I need to redirect? Or do I, what do I do in response to that? And I want to be intentional about that, and that's the key. So hopefully that helps my kind of process in, I'm really struggling to get motivated. I'm struggling to focus. I don't want to do this thing. One of the things for me is writing invoices or billing or finances. I just hate it, but I need to do it. If I do those things right, then it's going to open up so much opportunity, and I'm going to be able to spend more of the time, my time, doing what I want to do instead of what others want me to do. And so hopefully that was helpful. I'm going to continue to watch this community and group to see what other questions come up and take some time to talk through what some of my answers might be in the future. I encourage others to post other questions, and also if you have any reaction to any of these ideas, have you tried them? Have they worked for you? Do you have other ideas? What works for you? Would really love to see more comments that are discussing what are some ways that you can use to keep focused that are not the Pomodoro method, but might include a timer in some way. That's it for now. Thank you. We'll see you next time.